You know that friend who always cancels plans? The one who's tired again, busy again. Maybe next time. Yeah, that friend isn't avoiding you. They're protecting something. And if you're someone who feels more excited about a Friday night at home than going out, you're about to understand why. Because what society calls boring, psychology calls something completely different. Here's the part most people never realize. Not everyone experiences the world the same way. Some people walk into a crowded room and feel energized. They want more noise, more conversation, more movement. Others walk into that same room and slowly start shutting down. Not because they don't like people, but because their system is already overwhelmed. And the confusing part is, from the outside, it doesn't look like anything is wrong. You're still there. You're still listening. You're still responding. But internally, something is already starting to shut off. Your energy drops. Your focus narrows. And even small things start to feel like too much. Not because the situation is intense, but because your system reached its limit before anyone else noticed. Psychologists call this optimal arousal theory. Some people need more stimulation to feel good. Others need less. And if you're someone who loves staying home, your threshold is simply lower, not weaker, lower, which means you reach your limit faster. Because here's what's actually happening in your brain. You're not just hearing conversations. You're picking up tone, pauses, inconsistencies. You're noticing how someone's expression doesn't match their words. You're reading between the lines constantly. So while other people are just hanging out, your brain is working. Most people don't even notice this is happening. They leave a conversation and they move on. But you don't. You replay it. You think about what was said, what wasn't said, what someone really meant. And sometimes you're still processing it hours later. Not because you're overthinking, but because your brain doesn't just experience things, it analyzes them. And that kind of awareness is exhausting, even when you're enjoying yourself, even when the people are nice, even when nothing is technically wrong. It still drains you. That's why home feels different. Because at home, your brain finally gets to stop. No decoding, no adjusting, no performing, just stillness. And for you, that stillness doesn't feel empty. It feels like relief, like your system finally gets to reset. And this is the part most people misunderstand. They think rest means doing nothing. They think if you're not out there, talking, moving, doing something, then you're wasting time. But for you, this is the moment everything starts to come back online. Your thoughts slow down. Your body relaxes. Your mind stops scanning and starts settling. And for the first time all day, you're not reacting to anything. You're just here. This is why staying home isn't doing nothing. It's recovery. It's where your nervous system returns to baseline. It's where your mind can finally think without interruption. Because when there's no noise, your thoughts don't have to compete. They get to finish. They get to go deeper. And that's when something shifts. You stop reacting to the world and you start understanding it. In fact, research shows that people who enjoy solitude tend to be more creative, more introspective, and better at problem solving. Because when there's no constant input, your brain has space to connect ideas, to reflect, to process things most people avoid. That's why your best thoughts don't happen in noise. They happen late at night, in the shower, in those quiet moments where nothing is happening, but everything is clicking. But this goes deeper than just mental energy. It's also about control. Out in the world, you don't control much. The noise, the people, the conversations, the expectations. Everything is unpredictable. And your brain never fully relaxes in that environment. It's always scanning, always adjusting, always preparing for what might happen next, what someone might say, how you should respond, how you're being perceived. And even if nothing goes wrong, that constant awareness still costs energy because your system isn't built to stay on like that all the time. It's built to notice, to process, and then to rest. At home, everything is yours. You control the environment, the lighting, the sound, the pace, even who gets access to you. And for someone with a sensitive or highly aware nervous system, that control isn't just comfort, it's safety. That's why people misunderstand you. They see you staying home and think, you're missing out. You should go out more. Don't you get bored? But what they don't understand is this. You're not bored, you're regulated. In a world that's constantly overstimulating, you found a way to not overwhelm yourself. And most people don't even realize they're overwhelmed. There's also something else about you, something most people overlook. You have a rich inner world, which means you don't need constant external stimulation to feel engaged. You can sit alone and feel full. You can repeat the same routine and still enjoy it. You can spend hours by yourself and not feel like time was wasted because your mind is active. Your thoughts have depth. Your emotions have layers. But let's be honest for a second. Not everyone who stays home is doing it for the same reason. For some people, it's peace. For others, it's protection. And those two can look exactly the same from the outside. So here's the real question. Do you stay home because it recharges you, or because leaving feels heavier than it should? Because one is intentional, the other is avoidance. Sometimes staying home is linked to things like social anxiety, past experiences where you felt judged or misunderstood, or emotional burnout that hasn't been processed yet. In those cases, home becomes more than a preference. It becomes a shield. And while that shield protects you, it can also slowly limit your life. If you never question it, if this is hitting a little too close, go ahead and like the video and tell me in the comments. Do you actually enjoy staying home, or do you feel like you should go out more? But for people who genuinely love staying home, there's something different. They're not disconnected. They're selective. They don't want surface level conversations. They don't want forced interactions. They don't want noise just for the sake of noise. They want meaning. And if something doesn't feel meaningful, they'd rather stay home. That's why they have fewer relationships, but deeper ones. They don't open up easily, but when they do, it's real. They're not trying to be liked by everyone. They're looking to be understood by the right people. And here's something most people won't admit. If you're comfortable being alone, you're usually comfortable with yourself. You don't need constant distraction to escape your thoughts. You can sit with your emotions, process them, understand them, and that's rare. Because most people can't do that. They need noise, distraction, something to avoid being alone with themselves. But you don't run from your own mind. That's why solitude doesn't scare you. It stabilizes you. Now here's where things get tricky. Even something healthy can become limiting if it turns into a pattern you never question. If staying home makes you feel grounded, clear, and more like yourself, that's peace. But if it makes you feel disconnected, stuck, or smaller over time, that's something else. And the difference matters. Because the goal isn't to stay home forever. The goal is to build a life where both feel safe, where you can go out without feeling drained, and come home without needing to escape. And most people don't realize this until much later. After years of feeling drained, confused, or like something about them is off. But it was never something wrong. It was just a different way of processing the world. So if you're someone who genuinely enjoys staying home, who feels peace in your own space, who doesn't feel guilty about it anymore, you're not doing life wrong. You're just not doing it the loud way. And if you want more videos that explain the things you've always felt but couldn't put into words, subscribe. This channel is built for people exactly like you. So tell me, honestly, do you stay home because it gives you peace, or because the outside world feels like too much?